I'm Heather Harris, and I'm going to show you or demonstrate to you today how to do a composite filling known as the white filling on the occlusal surface. So that would be the biting surface of your teeth. First, you would seat the patient and bib the patient. And second, you have to numb the patient to do a filling. So you would start with what is called topical anesthetic gel, and this is bubblegum flavor. You rub this, if it's an upper, right above the tooth, whatever tooth you're working on. If it's the lower, way back in the back of the mouth, or right here is where your nerves run for all the teeth. And for the lower, you would use a yellow needle, and we have Septicane, Mempivacaine, and the one that fell was lidocaine. So lidocaine and Septicane both have epinephrine in it. So if you have somebody who cannot have epinephrine, you have to give them Mempivacaine. For an upper, you use the blue needle. And in order to load that, you place the carpule in here, and then remove the needle, and it goes right through this hole and screws on. After the patient's numb, you would start with your high speed and low speed. The short one is the low speed. High speed, low speed. Okay? Then you would start out with your 330 burr, and then you would move up to your 557 after. And that is to prep the tooth and start cleaning out the filling. After that, you would go to your slow speed, and you would use the round burr, and that cleans out the decay. After that, you would start with sable seat. This is a caries indicator, so while the round burr is supposed to be cleaning out the decay, if you miss something, you rub this around, and this will stain the tooth green if there's still decay on it. That way, you know that there's more that needs to be removed. So you rinse and dry. You then go back to the round burr and remove whatever decay that you missed. Then you would go back to the sable seat to make sure that you've gotten everything, and rinse and dry. And then you start with what we call the 3-step scrub. Chlorhexidine, and this would be our number 1, and this is our number 2, and number 3. And all 3 of those, in your teeth you have the enamel, dentin, and pulp. And this cleans so deep into all of them that you make sure that there's nothing can get down there, and it makes you have less chances of having sensitivity with a composite filling. So you would apply this, rinse and dry. Number 2, rinse and dry, and number 3, rinse and dry. You'll probably be changing out cotton rolls. You have to keep everything dry. Then you would go to what's known as etchant. This is very, 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 very bitter. So the whole purpose of keeping everything dry, and then your assistant needs to make sure that nobody can taste this. I mean, it's just not a good taste. You apply this, and it has very, very, very fine little tip on it. You apply that, and then you let this sit for 20 seconds, and you let that rinse and dry. And it will make the tooth look almost like chalky wherever you have applied it. After that, you would go to what's known as PQ1 bonding agent, or some people still use single bond bonding agent. If you use single bond, it'll still be put in a dappen dish, and then you have a little brush with a little tip on it, and you would apply it this way. After that, you do not rinse, you just air dry, and then you use the curing light, and it's set on 20 seconds, and this actually cures everything. And then you will end up using this for the composite. This is what makes the composite hard and stay to your teeth. The PQ1 and the single bond is the bonding agent for the composite. So after the PQ1, you go to a flowable composite because it is an occlusal surface. After you apply the vertice, the flowable composite, you take another one of these brushes and you brush it around in the tooth and you cure it again with the light. And then after that, you go back to the vertice and you put a little bit more, and then you go to whatever shade of composite you've picked. This is the composite gun. And you apply the composite. Since you did not cure the second time, for the flowable, that will seal off the walls of the tooth. So if your tooth is, and you're drilling here, and this is where the hole is, and you're filling, you have a flowable, a liquid composite, and you don't cure it, and then you put the hard composite on top of it, the hard composite pushes it down, and it seals the walls off, so there's no sensitivity on that tooth. Then you would cure that with the light after you've placed the hard composite. After that, you'll probably place a few more layers of the hard composite and use what's known as either a condenser or a plastic instrument. The condenser is used to push down the hard composite into the occlusal surface, and a plastic instrument is to smooth it. And some people, my doctor in particularly, she still will go to the single bond and she will dip in this because it's a liquid, so therefore instead of it sticking to the composite, it will smooth it off a little bit better. After that, you go back to the curing light and you cure for 20 seconds. After that is all done, you take the cotton rolls out of the patient's mouth and you, even though you're only filling the occlusal surface, you still cure the buccal and the lingual side as well. What might have been missed while curing the occlusal with the cotton rolls in. So after that, you floss the contact, go back to your high speed, and you can start polishing with the yellow striped football and what we call the Christmas tree burr. After that, you take bite paper, it goes in this holder, and you check the bite of the patient to make sure that they are not hitting on the tooth that you've just filled first. If they are, you go back to the Christmas tree burr or the football and your high speed and polish a little bit more, and you constantly continue to check the bite again. Then after that, you would go back to your low speed and you can put this, we call it a black disc, and it is actually sandpaper material, and you would put this in your low speed and this will actually file down and polish as well the tooth. Then after that, after you have the bite right and their bite is no longer hitting high on one side, you go to what we polish with at the very end, and that is our polishing point and then our polishing brush. And this just makes the tooth look very pretty. And then after that, you'll floss the contact again, and then you will go back to the etchant. Let that sit for 20 seconds and rinse and dry. And then you will use your dapping dish and what we call OptiGuard. This extends the life of a composite filling because, yes, you still have to get fillings replaced, whether they are amalgam, which is silver, or composite, which is the white filling. This just extends the life of it. You put that in the dapping dish, you have one of your other brushes, you apply it on the tooth, and you don't rinse, you just dry, and then you will cure for another 20 seconds with the curing light. And after that, your patient is done. You just warn them not to eat for a while until they're not numb anymore. Okay? You done?